so-called flying saucers.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. It's rotating.
Welcome to Kill the Stigma. So today we're going to talk about why Lue Elizondo is building a bunker. What could it be? Is it just preparing for worst case scenario? Is it normal to build a bunker? For some people, maybe, but I don't know. It's interesting. And I'm not really sure Lue Elizondo wanted that to come out, but Julian Dory still put it there, and I'm really happy he did. And he even gave Lue the opportunity to, hey, I don't know if we should put this in there, and I'm glad Lue said screw it. If he did ask him for permission, because, I'm not sure, but I'm really happy that got out. Anyways, this episode might be a little bit dark, and I don't want to spread fear, but I don't want to be the guy who's too scared about talking about dark stuff either. And we're just going to explore the possibilities and look at all the data from both sides, because there's two sides here. I'm convinced there's a part of the phenomena that wants contact, that wants us to know. And I'm convinced there's another part that's like, We're going to share a little bit about Jake's story, about his when they were doing psionics, trying to summon craft. This came and cut it off, basically cut the whole thing off. We're going to look at Stephen Greer, and we're going to look at the military, Lue Elizondo, Jim Semivan, and how they feel about it, the differences, and what we can learn from both of them, because I think they're both very valuable. And then make a decision. See, that's the thing. You got to think about it like, not that this person's right, not that this person's wrong. Maybe they're both right. And maybe we can take one side and connect it to this part of the puzzle to get the bigger picture. Because it's so interesting that the CIA, all these people from intelligence, they talk to people in the UFO community, researchers. I can go to work and ask my buddies, hey man, you've been down a rabbit hole, like whatever, researching, whatever, right? It doesn't matter. Just take your pick of rabbit holes in the internet. I guarantee the CIA rarely shows up to people researching random rabbit holes. But with the UFO rabbit hole, they do. They do show up. And the thing is, I doubt they actually tell us the whole truth. I am a big fan of Jim Semivan, but it's because I can relate to things that he's gone through. You know, what he went through with his wife and all that. I haven't been abducted like he has, but I can relate to that. So I do like him, and I do think he knows a lot more. And that he's trying, but there's something he's not telling us. And he seems like he wants to, but he can't. But he does give us breadcrumbs. We're going to analyze those.
I don't know if this is kosher to talk about on air, but I mean, we can start in a second if it's not. But you're building a bunker out there in Wyoming?
The rule to Fight Club is you never talk about Fight Club. Right? So if you're building a bunker, you don't tell people, because then everybody knows where to go when everything goes south. So, it would be remiss of me to not say that. Yeah, I think people look. Being prepared is not a bad thing. Now, being paranoid, maybe.
A bunker feels a little paranoid, Lou.
Well, look, there's an old saying, right? Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
What is a bunker? Wait, I mean, we hear all about these billionaire bunkers.
Just like you said. I mean, I'm going to have to ask, 2027.
No, I don't know why people keep saying 2027.
Listen.
People are like, oh, Lou said 2027. No, I never said 2027. Stop,
Okay.
guys. I never said that. You know what happens is people in the internet have got way too much time on their hands. They will clip together interviews I have to create a false narrative.
Okay, so let me know. Then what is it? Is it Bledsoe has a hard date, by the way. He says Easter Sunday 2026 is like his date. I've heard people say 2025 is when we begin this, whatever. And like it's obviously the goalpost is going to shift depending on what's been said. Recently, Jeremy Corbell in his special, in his 3-part special, at the end of it said that the government was intending on having some mass sighting or like a giant mothership come in and that, this is going to happen. And then 2027's been thrown around. Can you, for everyone's sanity,
Yeah, sure.
shed a little bit of light on this just so we can stop being paranoid, or we can start, being paranoid?
Let me see if I can thread the needle on this.
Sure. Take your time.
I know a lot of people, this is nothing new. There's entire religions that plan for doomsday, right? The end of the world's coming. Then you have, then it's Y2K, and then, it's the end of the Aztec calendar, right? And, it's now, there is some speculation, and I won't say specifics, that there may be something in later on, but the problem is I wouldn't go to the bank with it, and what the specifics are, because it's first of all, it's hearsay, and it's also yes, there was an official effort by some people in the government to actually look at this data, and there were some products produced. That's a fact. I won't go into more detail than that, but it wasn't 2027.
Okay.
And it was based upon certain observations. And again, I'm very careful because what I don't want to do is people are going to take this, they're going to hang on to these words and say, Lou said something's coming. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there were some people who were anticipating something happening. And it was officially considered by some people based upon certain things. And a product was written. Anything beyond that, I don't want to discuss, because I think what happens is people take that and they take it to the bank.
Sure. And
that's very dangerous.
You don't want to give any credence to something that could be untrue.
Right. I mean, look, anything can happen, right? A tornado could hit your studio in 10 minutes from now. It could.
Yeah.
It probably won't, but it could, right? So we have to be very careful. There's no such thing as absolutes.
But it's when you say something was observed that people's ears tend to perk up.
Yeah. I mean, I can't go into more detail than that, because first of all, I didn't collect the data. I wasn't part of that effort. And thirdly, that's not really for me to discuss, but I don't think people need to be, Panic at the Disco and, oh my God, we've been down this road many times before. Let's stop speculating. Let's stick to what we know. And if it turns out that there's a revelation based upon of us all working together on this, and fine, maybe it is what it is, but we need to make sure we don't do ourselves the injustice by predicting and predicating things. I think that's a dangerous move. And I think unless the government comes out and says something, hey, you need to pay attention to this, then we probably should focus on other things.
I mean, and most people would probably agree with me, but if the government did say that, we might be questioning why they said that.
Right, sure.
Now, Lue says there's some data that they were able to somehow validate through some observation. Could that be the data that Robert Bigelow was talking about? Could that be that they have some sort of contact with some NHI or something that has been able to vet itself, right? Like, God knows what they're doing in the consciousness studies, but like, we do know that Bigelow has put a lot of resources and a lot of good research into this topic. So if they did have some sort of contact, they would test it. They would be, well, you got to prove your credibility, right? And we've heard of people getting downloads and then suddenly have the ability to do science. They don't have no idea. Gary Nolan was studying this guy that was just in post-disclosure tonight, and he would get downloads and he would ask him questions about science stuff, and the guy would know pretty close, at least, some of what he's talking about. So could this be data from an NHI saying, hey, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. I've been right about everything before, so they have to take it at face value? Or could it be connected to the lady of Chris Bledsoe, which John Keel, Operation Trojan Horse, I don't know if it's chapter 13, 14, or 15, one of those, talks about the lady, 1970. This guy was way ahead of his time. And he says the phenomena is a deceiver. It's a trickster. It's a liar. You can't trust it. But when it comes to the lady, it almost seems like he was saying this entity does not mess around. She comes and she does prophecies, and they usually happen. What prophecies has she given Bledsoe? And I know Bledsoe shares the positive, but he's gotten a lot of fear-mongering stuff because I've heard him in interviews, especially before. Like, if you go look at some interviews with Ryan Bledsoe said so, like, go back a few years, and he talks about, like, not wanting to spread fear and how he just didn't even put his, like, things that could cause fear or anxiety in his book, which kind of pissed me off. You know, get treated with like children enough in this topic. So could it be that? Or is it just an asteroid they caught? And what about Gary Nolan? Gary Nolan shared 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, posted a meme of a UFO that crashed, and it somehow had to do something with the dinosaurs and the asteroid with the dinosaur. I remember it said, well, this complicates things, implying that the phenomena was the one that almost destroyed the dinosaurs. It could have been a joke. But why would he put that out there? I don't know. If anybody knows Gary Nolan, you should ask him that, please. I remember that tweet. Let me show you, before we continue, the clip about Robert Bigelow. And he was basically spooked to the reason for the future not looking so bright. So, here.
A time where our technology really gets us in a horrible situation.
There are certainly plenty of very serious thinkers who say that the human race is heading right towards extinction.
We have a current program that was a successor to the contest. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I'm going to jump us a little bit, because we started, at ground zero, at the foundation with the contest. And so I did it not because of my belief system, because I already have a belief system, mm-hmm. but I did it to see what kind of proof and evidence would be acquired. Mm-hmm. And so the challenge is of a different order of magnitude. The challenge is an effort to involve an acquisition of information from the other side that proves or disproves what information Bix already has from multiple kinds of sources as to the disposition of the human race in time coming. It's a pessimistic view that we have relative to the data that are telling us what we see. I'm hoping we're wrong, and but I'm hoping that the data are substantial in the way that we're trying to acquire it to tell us we're wrong, because we're going to do devil's advocacy on the data that's coming from the sources that we are out there trying to gather.
If I understand what you're saying, it's basically like the data that is coming into you from multiple sources leads you to have a pessimistic outlook on the future of humanity. Yeah. And you're looking for some way that we might be able to change that apparent destiny.
I don't think that's an achievable goal for me. Okay. I think I'm an explorer, a researcher, and I think that problem is gigantic. It's huge.
Because it's coming at us from many angles.
Yeah, it's probably already written on the wind one way or another, and it's going to happen. and there's little or nothing we can do about it. Part of that is a function of nobody's going to listen anyway, and so who are we talking to, right? So we'll know, maybe we'll have more information than the average person on the street is going to have, right? And maybe that will give us some ability to have some comfort in our thought process of thinking about not just our container has a clock ticking, but from normal biological disintegration or whatever, or an accident or something coming along, but from a standpoint that things are really going to be bad. And how do you prepare yourself for that and those that you love and care for, or friends? How do you prepare for any of that, right? So that's probably the best that we can do.
Well, you're talking about something, a huge topic most people can't begin to wrap their minds around, the potential extinction of our species. That's something very few people want to address.
Now, that's on one level, right? Think about something that's 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times more startling than that, particularly one that has an element of possible extinction or possible that you have no control over. I mean, you have control over this. You can go, you can take cognitive behavioral therapy.
And we're going to shift gears after this question a bit because there's so much I want to discuss with you. But do you think that the phenomenon or phenomena, however you want to look at it, are the architects of the secrecy?
It's something. The answer, I don't know, but the within certain circles now, that's the discussion, is that the government may be being prevented from discussing this, or being told not to do that. One of the things I brought up before, I was on a podcast not too long ago. I think I went to the Stars podcast, and I said, well, what if the phenomena? I mean, the phenomena doesn't do anything, right? It just shows itself whenever the hell it wants to. It's completely unpredictable. It tells you what it tells you, doesn't give you any proof of anything. It teases you, it cajoles you, it scares you, it terrifies you.
I think one aspect that's been hinted at by people like David Grush that has not come out so much is, to what degree have there been accords, right? So to what degree has there been not only knowledge of these beings, but perhaps even some sort of agreement that has been made? We have all heard these stories about the Eisenhower administration and overtures that were made by one kind of non-human intelligence that was turned down. Another one kind of showed up, and that ended up being the one the accord was made with. We have Jason Sands talking about a being that he ran into, blue-skinned being that seemed very positive, that was wearing kind of military clothing, though. This is something that comes up over and over again, right? This notion that sometimes people run into not just what look like alien beings, but also human beings, and not necessarily human beings from, on another planet or from the future, but seem to be somehow connected to our military in some way. So I think the cooperation that may have been in play here is the X factor. And I think this is where, speaking of Jim Semivan and indigestibility, that will be a shock to the system. And I think one thing that has happened that I've noticed, being a more progressive person, I've nevertheless seen that the left politically tends to put that in conspiracy theory camp and doesn't think that's even possible, let alone that NHI could be here. But you're talking about us making agreements with them, with our military industrial complex. Come on, that sounds ridiculous. And yet that seems to be what the evidence points towards. So what is the nature of those agreements? To what degree are they still active today? How will disclosure change those or bring them to the surface? What role is or will NHI have in this entire disclosure process? I think that, is the X factor, the agreements, the accords, and what role is or will NHI have in this ongoing societal conversation?
So he's talking about extinction level event, right? you know, Jim Semivan has a way higher view of what's going on here, and I do think he's protecting a lot of information that's classified. I also do think he is trying to. I feel like he feels for people that are really into this, but that's just what I think. I don't know. He's CIA. It's impossible to tell, but he does know a lot more. He says extinction level event. Then he talks about how the secrecy is really because of a group of NHI, at least. He says that whoever is preventing the government from disclosing. So can we connect that to the dark side of the phenomena that wants to keep us in the dark, does not want us learning anything about it, doesn't want us to keep us matrixed, right? Could they be sending a message, right, to someone in the government, right? And don't disclose, or this will happen. And then you get into things that, you know, mysterious drones, possible anomalous health incidents, or even possible plane incidents, like with Black Hawk hitting a freaking plane in Washington, D.C., or the one that Ryan Graves shared where the something metallic went into a plane and they said it was a bird. We get all these cover stories, and you know, there was an unidentified drone that hit one of the planes that was putting out the wildfire. Unidentified illegal drone. Well, what? Can you show us? What are you talking about? And then, like, who was operating it? Right? Because drones are supposed to be they're supposed to be registered with the FAA. And then we get the one call where there's static on in Pennsylvania, this Learjet, and suddenly their air traffic control is talking and they get static, and it's like you're messing with the wrong people. And it's not a Chinese accent. I've been trying to figure out what kind of accent it was. I want to know who that person is, and this might not be related to UAP at all, but I want to know who that person is, or who that group of people, who is it? Is that an encrypted message connected to UAP or don't disclose kind of thing? Or am I crazy for asking these questions? Because it does not make sense. You know, we had an F-35, fell out of the sky in Alaska. We also had an F-35 in South Carolina last year or a year and a half. South Carolina dude ejected, and he called 911, come help me. What happened to that investigation? What happened there? I want to know. Am I the only one who's asking, could there be a connection? Nobody else think it's weird that happened, and we haven't heard anything. Like, I want to know. Because that seems like odd to me. Anyway, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe.
Return runway 24, clear for takeoff. Medevac Med Service 056, contact Philly departure 123.8.
123.8, Mike Tango Sierra 056 Medevac. Thank you, good day.
Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower, contact Philly 123.8. Medevac Med Service, Northeast Tower. Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower, you on frequency?
So this could be just some giant coincidence, right? Some adversary, or just bad luck. I don't know, but you can't forget historical data ever. You just can't do that. And let's just at least accept that there was static, some weird voice, didn't sound Chinese, maybe Indian, I don't know, said you're messing with the wrong people. So, was that a message? Sounds to me like it was. But what is the message about? You take mystery drones, you take strange incidents with planes, and you take historical data, which I'm about to show you, and you put it all in a, blend it all together, right? What do you come up with? Could there be a disastrous, could there be a warning to people in the government? Could it be related to disclosure? I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit too far. It might be a little bit too far. I think I might have lost my mind. But I wonder, there was something strange about these planes crashes. I don't want to really say they're UAP related, but I do want to say they're UAP related. Not all of them, but definitely the one with the Black Hawk was very weird. The one with in Pennsylvania was very weird. The one by California with the unidentified drone was strange. The one that allegedly was a bird was also strange. And why did Donald Trump say, we're going to give you the truth about the mystery drones, and then FAA approved? You know how easy it is for me to say that's bullshit? It's the easiest thing. I mean, I could tear that apart so easily. So why go so far to have a cover story? We wouldn't do that with China. We wouldn't do that with Russia. We just wouldn't. We wouldn't do that, because if people find out that it's the enemy, it would be such a scandal. But what did the lady say? She said, the FAA approved for research and various other reasons. This is not the enemy. So what enemy are you talking about? Are you talking about China, Russia? Or are you talking about something else? Because if it's something else, yeah, you're right. It's not the enemy. It could be worse. It could be the part that does not want us to find out about the truth. The part that wants to keep us humanity asleep. That NHI. Not the Stephen Greer one. There's both. There's the people doing CE5. There's the people, the positive contact. There's the people, intelligence community surrounding Greer. Then there's the side where what does Greer have wrong? Greer has done a lot of things right, but he did get the one thing wrong. All NHI are positive. Bullshit. BS. That's the one thing he got wrong. So we got to take Lue Elizondo and David Grush and all these people and mix it up, what they're giving us, and mix it with the Greer stuff, and we come to know that there's a negative side and there's a positive side. And what the military and the people haven't told Greer is that maybe it's not all humans, or no, maybe it is a breakaway civilization possible. That's actually possible, but it would be a breakaway civilization with some unknown agenda. So anyway, we take that and we say, yeah, there's a negative side. Disclosure, they don't want disclosure. They don't want us getting connected. Look at this, look at Jake. Okay, we're doing psionics, and what happens? Some UFO comes and shuts the whole thing down. Okay, speaking of Jake, let me show you what they got in Skywatch.
And at that moment, something is seen. What do you have? You have a correlation.
So we have an egg-shaped object that our sensors caught moving in one direction, supposedly connected to our psionics team, and a disc-shaped object that Fred reportedly saw moving in a different direction. We worked with an animator to specifically visualize the disc that Fred saw. This is a recreation from his vantage point. For reference, this is what he believes the disc looked like, and this is the speed we calculated the disc was moving over the building. Our experience raises a lot of questions that we don't yet have the answer to.
I was there not to provide any conclusions. I was there to make sure that everything that was being done in a scientifically accurate way, as dispassionately as possible, and to be part of the advisor team to make sure that this was done in a way that at some point, if it ever wanted to be put together into a scientific paper, we had collected the kind of metadata required to say, well, we might not have a conclusion, but here is at least a story that tells us that the data which we're providing to perhaps some future event might be looked back to and said, oh, well, what happened there worked, that didn't work, so let's try this again so that we can perhaps make it repeatable.
Don Paul, who was also present at the event. During our time together, there were multiple events that caused me to seriously question certain assumptions I have about reality. The day we were wrapping up our event, something incredible happened. There was a mass UAP sighting directly in the area where we ran our operation. There were dozens of claims on neighborhood apps of residents seeing anomalous things in the sky. The story picked up steam, and in a few days there were thousands of tweets about the incident. The FAA even imposed a temporary flight restriction over the area where we ran our operation. Is this causation? Did we cause this event?
Alex, was he losing his mind by asking those questions, or did he have the courage to say that out loud? Because you do wonder when there's a big disclosure push, there's a freaking disc that comes and shuts the whole thing down. So what we have is this one side of the phenomena trying to make contact, very similar to CE5, and then we have this other, right? So this, then they have a mass sighting all over California. Could be a huge coincidence, but I do like entertaining this a little bit. Like, what if, right? What if it's a message? Because we do know Jake is special operations. We do know he's connected to the whole disclosure thing, David Grush, all this, and they're trying to prove it. They're trying to prove it to everyone. So, if there is a non-human intelligence that does not, or a breakaway civilization that has basically alien power, alien tech, and they're pretty much almost the same level, either one, if indeed they don't want this to happen, how far will they go? Right? Like, could it be all connected because someone in the government, right? Somebody in the National Security Council, somebody like the President of the United States who freaked out with the drones and acted like a scared little, I don't know, basically saying they're all FAA approved, research writers are and other reasons. I might have talked about this earlier. Don't remember. If I did, I apologize. And saying this is not the enemy. So, I think I did talk about this. I apologize. But, he said he was going to tell us the truth. And then he didn't. And cover story after cover story. Why such a length? Right? What are they scared of? They're acting like they're terrified. I don't know, but my biggest question to you, if you made it this far, is that would you disclose if we did make a deal with NHI, which Ross Coulthart did talk about that. He said it like jokingly, like NHI says we can't, and Need to Know basically said like NHI says we can't disclose. We have Jim Semivan talking about that. We have Lue Elizondo building a bunker, right? Like all this, we got to take that and just like not completely dismiss it and say they're crazy and kind of just like try to figure it out. This is what I'm trying to do. A lot of people, I know they're not going to like this episode, but I'm not saying this is it. I'm just saying what if, right? What if it is? This is what's going on. So, would you still disclose if you have, whether it's an NHI threat, saying do not? You have no assurance that the CE5 good NHI is going to come defend you. Nothing has been talked about like this. We're like, bro, like we're just here to help you guys, like the good vibes and ascend, to the next whatever. Like we're not going to war with nobody. Like, yeah, I don't want to know about those MIB over there. Like, no, I'm good. Like, So if that's the case, you have no defense. Would you still disclose, or would you? And is that what happened? Did we bow down? thing, guys, just so you know, I don't get frustrated. I like covering these topics, and I might take a deep breath, but I'm really not stressed out. I'm good, guys. I get stressed out in the moment when I'm reading this disturbing information, then I just lock it away. I'm good. I live my life pretty healthy. I don't let it go drive me nuts. But since I've been talking about all these weird incidents with planes and helicopters and freaking drones and UFOs and the side that doesn't want us to get disclosure, I figured we'd go back to the beginning of the recent modern UFO flap, 1947. 1947 must have been a terrifying time for the people dealing with this because they did not know that they were dealing, they didn't know what they were dealing with. Like right now we can say, oh, it's been 78 years, 79, whatever. And, you know, they haven't attacked us. They haven't they haven't done anything too dramatic, right? So back then they had no idea what they're dealing with. But the Maury Island incident, okay, this is 2 weeks before Roswell. 2 weeks before Roswell. The thing is, it does not get talked about as much because the guy, the witness, got spooked. He had a man in a suit the next day and he got scared. And it was one of those spooky ones where the guy knows everything about him, and this kind of freaked him out. Kenneth Arnold also got freaked out looking into this case, and along with Fred Chrisman, who was basically the guy that's like the cigarette smoking man in X-Files, and also some involvement with JFK there. It's a rabbit hole. It's very, very broad case and very hard to just like touch on, which is what I'm going to try to do. But Ryan Wood here, great book, Magic Eyes Only, gives it a really good score for the credibility. Thing is, Harold Dahl said that it was a hoax after that dude in the suit shows up and he didn't want to deal with it. So he basically just said that it's a hoax, like whatever, just leave me alone. But then he came later in life, and his family, and the lore lives on in Idaho, and I think it's Idaho or Washington. I don't remember, maybe, I think it's Washington State. But the lore lives on, right? And the thing is that he then said it wasn't a lie, it happened. And he, you know, the biggest thing about this case was when he called in there was 3 UFOs, one was in trouble, it explodes. 2 others stay down. Then his dog gets hurt, and he's in a boat. A lot of weird things happened after this. But when soldiers come in to retrieve this, the plane crashes. The pilots die. In Project Blue Book, I encourage anybody to see the show Project Blue Book on Amazon Prime, I think it is. I think it's there for free, or it used to be, or I don't know if it's Hulu. No, it's Hulu, sorry, Hulu. They call this case the most important case. And Richard Dolan helped he helped give ideas to whoever was directing it. And he picked that case as the most important case. The thing is,
now, what do you know about Maury Island?
Maury Island? What's that got to do with why I'm here?
Well, it's the most important UFO encounter in American history.
Like I said, the guy said it was a hoax, and he didn't. So, you know, as ufologists, they always need to keep their credibility, so it doesn't get talked as much as Roswell. But that's what seems like it was very important. I mean, they're trying to make a point. Someone's trying to make a point. And not only that, journalists, according to Nick Redfern, which a lot of his stuff I take with a huge grain of salt, man. But according to him, I got to read more and more Maury Island, but journalists that were looking into this also died. Kenneth Arnold got silenced by suits. James Fox talked about this in Area 52. So, did I go down the deep end? Am I crazy for asking these questions? Am I in the wrong? Like, is it too much, too dark? Like, you're tripping. Like, it's got nothing. Maybe, but I thought I would explore the possibility, and I honestly do get off and like asking these questions and having the courage to give my opinion. I don't care. I just don't care what people think. And my channel might never be successful because of it, but I'd rather die being real with myself and putting my questions out there than not. Any day, bro. So, if you made it all the way to the end, thank you. I will ask you one more time. Would you disclose if you had some breakaway civilization or some bad faction of NHI saying there will be hell to pay, would you do it? My answer is I don't have an answer. I would have to think about it. That's my honest answer. I want to know what you would do. Leave it down in the comments. And I'm not saying this is real. I'm not saying this I'm right. I'm just asking questions. Thank you.